Okay, let's dive in. This is the deep dive. We take the sources you send us and we just, unpack them, try to pull out the key insights purely from the text itself.
Exactly. Think of us as sort of navigating through the material you gave us, pointing out what seems important, what might resonate based only on what's written there.
Absolutely. And for this deep dive, we've got some, well, pretty compelling stuff here. It's all centered around overcoming really big personal challenges.
Yeah, especially around difficult relationships, it looks like. And the source presents a specific path towards healing and transformation.
So what are we actually looking at? What's the source?
It seems to be excerpts from a document, and it focuses on healing from narcissistic abuse effects. And it also promotes a particular group or maybe an approach called 24/7 empowerment.
Got it. So our mission today is pretty clear then. We'll unpack the experiences described in this document,
Right.
try to understand the solution that it proposes, and really examine the specific transformation claims that the author makes in this text, just sticking to the nuggets of info you gave us.
And what really grabs you from the start, the hook for this dive, is the personal story shared in there. It's quite powerful.
Oh, yeah.
It talks about decades of struggle, a really difficult relationship, specifically identified as with a narcissistic mother.
Decades.
Yeah. And then these dramatic claims of not just getting past that, but also hitting these amazing breakthroughs in health and even finances after finding this path described in the source. It's quite a narrative.
Okay, let's get into that personal story then. What does the source actually detail?
Well, it describes being born and raised by, and these are the source's words, an extremely abusive narcissistic mother. And this apparently went on for a big chunk of the author's 66 years. Even when they tried to keep their distance for most of that time, the source says they ended up being the main caretaker from age 55 to 66.
Why them specifically?
Because the text states the siblings wanted nothing to do with the mother.
Ah, okay. So it all fell on the author.
Right, 100% on my shoulders is how the author puts it. And it reached a breaking point where they just declared no more.
So it wasn't just the emotional stuff, like guilt and shame mentioned in the text.
No, the source makes it clear it was external chaos too. It lists things like reports against my neighbors, elder abuse reports, police constantly at my home, and just constant war about anything and everything in my own home. It really paints a picture of relentless stress.
Wow. Okay, so facing all that, what did the author try? The source mentions attempts to change things.
Oh yeah, many, many attempts. The list in the source is pretty extensive.
Like what?
According to the text, they tried, working harder to make her happy, going to various seminars, reading books.
Standard stuff, maybe.
Some of it. Then more specific techniques like NLP, that's neuro-linguistic programming, right? Usually about changing thought patterns. Also auto-suggestions. They also tried traditional counseling, multiple kinds of individual therapies, and even something called relationship theory.
Theory. Maybe a typo for therapy.
Yeah, that seems likely. Relationship therapy. The source even mentions trying things like fasting and prayer.
So a really wide range of approaches then. Psychological, spiritual, practical.
Definitely. All aimed at, fixing a situation or at least their reaction to it.
And what does the source say was the outcome of all these individual efforts?
Well, this is a key point in the text. The author states, but my abusive narcissistic mother just kept making things worse.
Oh.
And all that built up stress and constant tension apparently started affecting their physical health. The text even mentions hiding in their bedroom just to avoid fighting when they were home. That was a coping mechanism.
So the main takeaway from the source about all those years of trying different things alone.
The source is pretty blunt about it. It just says, but nothing changed.
Okay. So this is where the source introduces a turning point, right?
Yeah.
After all that failure, what does it say made the difference?
The text pinpoints it very clearly. It says the breakthrough came from getting the right people around me, coaches, support, and real accountability.
How did they get that?
According to the source, this shift happened when they joined a 24 hours a day, 7 days a week empowerment team.
Right. So the central theme clicking into place here is moving from that isolated struggle to finding a path through group support, which ties right into a core belief the source really emphasizes.
Exactly. The source lays out this principle. No one, not even you, was meant to figure everything out alone. That seems foundational to their whole approach as presented here.
And it sounds like this 24/7 empowerment idea in the source at least, isn't just about recovering from narcissistic abuse. It mentions being about life.
Yeah, it broadens out there. And this is where the source makes those really striking claims about wider transformation.
Okay, let's hear them. What specific changes does the author claim happened after joining this team?
Okay, the text lists some big ones. First, health. They state they reversed their diabetes A1C from over +13 to under -6.
Wow, that's a huge shift. A1C reflects average blood sugar, so going from over 13, which is very high, down to under 6 is basically moving into a normal or near normal range.
Exactly. The source presents it as a major health reversal. It also claims they lost the 60 pounds I gained in a fatal near-death car accident.
So significant physical health claims detailed right there in the text.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned finances. The transformation narrative in the source hits that too.
Oh, definitely. And this is where the source gets particularly bold, you could say.
How so?
The author claims, quote, I increased my income from $40K per year to $120K per month.
Per month.
Per month. That's what the text says. And it adds a historical claim, too. I earned $3.09 by age 47.
Okay, those are massive financial claims presented in the source.
Right. And the source explicitly ties this dramatic shift happening after all those years of struggle specifically to adopting this new team-based approach.
So drilling down a bit, what does the source actually say this 24/7 empowerment approach is?
Yeah.
How does it claim to help people get these kinds of results from abuse recovery to huge income shifts?
Well, the source describes it as a process to step into your breakthrough. It talks about 24/7 weekly coaching and 365 days support.
Okay, continuous support seems key.
Yeah. More specifically, it lists weekly empowerment coaching for $25 a week. And then the really crucial element seems to be joining your own empowerment team.
Right.
The idea presented is being surrounded by real coaches, trainers, and growth partners 24/7, 365 days.
The text also drops this phrase, the secret of champions and millionaires. What's that about, according to the source?
Yeah, and the source immediately links that secret back to the main theme.
Wow.
It claims champions and millionaires win because they don't go it alone, neither should you.
So it reinforces that team idea again.
Exactly. The source presents the team and that continuous support as the sort of secret sauce, the key difference.
And how does the source position this team? What's their specialty?
It says the team specializes in transformation, not just talk, and specifically helping people break through barriers that have held you back for years.
Anything else about the program itself in the source?
There's also a mention of potentially getting certified through their life-changing curriculum and leadership programs. And the ultimate goal, as framed in the source, is to build a life that matters by focusing on your purpose, power, and potential with the right team behind you.
So it really seems like this entire narrative, just based on the text we have, hinges on that belief. The big change happens when you stop trying to do it all yourself and instead find, quote, the right people around you. The source uses empowering language, too, like you were born for more and owning your power beyond measure.
Yeah, the overall message you get just from reading this source is about moving from a state of being hurt, but you're not broken, you're just alone. That's a direct quote towards complete transformation and healing.
And the mechanism for that, according to the source,
is this continuous team-based support structure.
Okay, so let's try to wrap up what we've pulled out purely from this source material. What's the essential journey and the solution described here?
Well, the core journey detailed in the source, it's one of really deep, long-lasting pain. Isolation, too, stemming from these major relationship problems, specifically narcissistic abuse in this case.
Right.
And it really emphasizes the author's history of trying lots and lots of different things on their own over many years.
Which the source states just didn't work.
Didn't produce change, according to the text, yeah.
And the crucial pivot point, as presented in this document, was explicitly linked to seeking out this different kind of external support, this accountability structure provided by the 24/7 empowerment team.
And following that shift, the source then makes these really powerful claims of like broad transformation.
Going beyond just the initial abuse stuff.
Yeah, moving beyond that struggle to significant positive changes in health. It cites the diabetes, the weight loss after the accident, and then equally dramatic claims about financial success.
That huge income increase, the lifetime earnings figure, all presented as linked to this path in the source.
Exactly.
So the core of this 24/7 empowerment approach, again, as described only in this source, seems to be offering constant access to a safe space, validation, coaching, and that team structure.
Right. And it's all built on that belief, really hammered home in the source. No one, not even you, was meant to figure everything out alone.
And that idea that you were born for more.
Mm-hmm.
And for listeners who might be interested in exploring this specific path further based on what they've heard from the source today.
The source itself gives some next steps. It suggests visiting their website, www.247empowerment.me, checking out an FAQs page there, maybe joining a short 15-minute Q&A intro session,
Okay.
and then ultimately joining a team if they feel ready for that kind of transformation journey described in the text.
And the source finishes with a pretty strong statement, doesn't it?
Yeah, it says, you don't have to do this alone anymore. Your breakthrough is waiting.
So reflecting on this specific source, it presents this compelling narrative, right?
Yeah.
Years of trying things alone, hitting dead ends, then joining a team, getting the right people around them, as the text said.
And then comes the breakthrough, according to the author.
So here's something maybe to think about for you listening. Considering the challenges you might be facing in your own life, big or small, what does this particular source's perspective make you wonder about the potential power of seeking out that external support, that community, versus just continuing to try and wrestle with things entirely on your own?
Yeah, the whole isolation versus community approach to overcoming obstacles, definitely something the source puts front and center. Food for thought.